I am a higher school student and I can't study further due to lack of money. So, kindly subscribe to my channel. Please like my videos and watch my videos regularly. Also, kindly share my videos. By this I can get revenue and I can study further. Thank you.
Mysteries of the Deep. The Titanic Conspiracy Unveiled. The RMS Titanic is one of the most infamous ships in history, known for its tragic maiden voyage that ended in disaster. Built by the White Star Line and launched in 1912, the Titanic was hailed as the largest and most luxurious ship of its time. However, its glory was short-lived, as it collided with an iceberg in the North Atlantic Ocean on April 14, 1912, leading to the loss of more than 1,500 lives. The Titanic was constructed as a response to the intense competition between shipping companies in the early 20th century. The White Star Line aimed to create a vessel that combined opulence, speed, and safety. With its grand design and advanced features, the Titanic was intended to appeal to the upper class and offer them a luxurious means of transatlantic travel. The ship boasted numerous amenities and facilities that were unprecedented for its era. It featured a swimming pool, a gymnasium, libraries, restaurants, and opulent staterooms. The first-class passengers were treated to the finest luxuries, while the lower-class passengers had access to more modest accommodations. The Titanic was truly a floating palace that set new standards in terms of passenger experience. On the evening of April 10, 1912, the Titanic set sail from Southampton, England, bound for New York City. As it embarked on its maiden voyage, it carried a total of 2,224 passengers and crew members. The ship made stops at Cherbourg, France, and Queenstown, now Cobh, Ireland, to pick up additional passengers before heading towards its final destination. 4 days into the journey, tragedy struck. On the night of April 14, the Titanic received several ice warnings from other ships in the area, indicating the presence of icebergs along its route. However, the ship maintained its high speed, disregarding the potential dangers that lay ahead. At approximately 11:40 p.m., the Titanic struck an iceberg on its starboard side. The collision caused a series of punctures in the ship's hull, ultimately dooming the vessel. The Titanic was designed with watertight compartments meant to prevent the ship from sinking in the event of such an incident. However, the damage inflicted by the iceberg proved to be more extensive than anticipated. As the seawater flooded the compartments, the Titanic began to sink slowly into the frigid waters of the North Atlantic. The lack of lifeboats proved to be a critical issue, as the ship could only accommodate a fraction of its passengers and crew. Despite the heroic efforts of the crew and the bravery displayed by many individuals, the sheer scale of the disaster overwhelmed any rescue attempts. In the early hours of April 15, 1912, the Titanic disappeared beneath the waves, leaving only a few lifeboats and debris scattered across the ocean surface. The tragic loss of life on the Titanic sparked international outrage and led to significant changes in maritime safety regulations. The sinking of the Titanic continues to captivate the public's imagination, inspiring numerous books, films, and documentaries that explore the events surrounding the ill-fated voyage. It serves as a haunting reminder of the vulnerability of humanity in the face of nature's power and the enduring impact of a single tragic moment in history. The sinking of the Titanic on April 15, 1912, is one of the most famous maritime disasters in history. While many aspects of the Titanic's sinking are well documented, there have been several mysteries and controversies surrounding the event. Here are some of the key mysteries associated with the Titanic. Insufficient lifeboats. One of the most glaring mysteries surrounding the Titanic's sinking is why the ship carried an insufficient number of lifeboats. Despite its massive size, the Titanic had lifeboats that could accommodate only about half of the people on board. The reasons for this oversight include a belief in the unsinkability of the ship, outdated regulations regarding lifeboat capacity, and a desire to maximize deck space. Warnings ignored. Prior to the Titanic's voyage, there were several warnings about ice in the ship's intended path. The wireless operator on board, Jack Phillips, received multiple ice warnings from other ships, including the nearby SS Californian. However, these warnings were not acted upon swiftly or taken seriously enough, contributing to the ship's collision with the iceberg. Speed and visibility. Another mystery is why the Titanic was sailing at such high speed through a known ice field. Some theories suggest that the ship's captain, Edward Smith, wanted to set a speed record for the maiden voyage, while others argue that he was trying to arrive in New York ahead of schedule due to commercial interests. Additionally, atmospheric conditions on the night of the collision might have reduced visibility, making it harder to spot icebergs. Binoculars in the crow's nest. One controversial theory proposes that the lookout in the crow's nest did not have access to binoculars, which could have potentially allowed them to spot the iceberg sooner. It is believed that the key to the storage locker containing the binoculars was misplaced, and as a result, the lookout had to rely solely on their naked eyes. Structural integrity. There have been debates and inquiries regarding the structural integrity of the Titanic. Some experts argue that the ship's construction and the quality of the materials used were inadequate, which contributed to the extent of the damage caused by the iceberg. These claims assert that the hull plates were too brittle and that the ship's rivets were of lower quality than needed. Conspiracy theories. As with any significant event, there have been various conspiracy theories surrounding the Titanic's sinking. Some of these theories propose that the Titanic's sinking was an intentional act, ranging from insurance fraud to a deliberate plot to eliminate specific individuals on board. However, most of these conspiracy theories lack substantial evidence and are generally dismissed by historians. While these mysteries and controversies continue to intrigue researchers and enthusiasts, it is important to note that many aspects of the Titanic's sinking have been extensively studied, and the prevailing consensus is that a combination of factors, including human error, contributed to the tragedy. After the sinking of the Titanic on April 15, 1912, the wreckage of the ship lay undisturbed at the bottom of the North Atlantic Ocean for over 70 years. The exact location of the wreck was unknown until September 1, 1985, when a joint French-American expedition led by Dr. Robert Ballard discovered the remains of the ship. Since its discovery, several expeditions have been conducted to study and document the wreckage. The Titanic rests at a depth of approximately 12,500 feet (3,800 meters) on the seabed. Over time, the ship has been subjected to various natural processes and deterioration, including corrosion, microbial activity, and ocean currents. In 1987, the wreckage became protected by an international agreement, and subsequent visits to the site have been for scientific purposes. Many artifacts have been recovered from the site, providing valuable insights into the ship and the lives of those on board. These artifacts have been exhibited in museums around the world, with some being displayed as traveling exhibits. Efforts have been made to preserve the wreck and its artifacts while maintaining the integrity of the site. However, the condition of the wreckage continues to deteriorate due to the harsh deep-sea environment. There has been debate and discussion over the years regarding the ethics and feasibility of retrieving artifacts or raising the ship, but so far, no major salvage operations have been carried out. The Titanic's resting place remains a memorial to the tragic event and a reminder of the lives lost. The Titanic book, titled The Wreck of the Titan, or Futility, was written by Morgan Robertson and published in 1898, 14 years before the actual sinking of the Titanic in 1912. The book was a work of fiction that depicted the story of a giant ocean liner called the Titan, which was deemed unsinkable but ultimately met its fate after hitting an iceberg in the North Atlantic. The similarities between the fictional story and the real-life tragedy of the Titanic have led to speculation and comparisons over the years. However, it's important to note that the book was not based on the actual events of the Titanic sinking but rather a coincidence that has captured the interest of many people. The story of Jack and Rose from the movie, Titanic, is fictional. The characters and their love story were created by James Cameron, who wrote and directed the film. While the Titanic itself was a real ship that sank in 1912 after hitting an iceberg, the characters of Jack Dawson and Rose DeWitt Bukater are not based on real individuals. However, the film's portrayal of the sinking of the Titanic was inspired by real events. The Titanic was a British passenger liner that set sail on its maiden voyage from Southampton, England to New York City in April 1912. Unfortunately, the ship struck an iceberg in the North Atlantic Ocean and sank, resulting in the loss of over 1,500 lives. James Cameron's film incorporated elements of real historical events, such as the sinking of the ship and the class divisions among the passengers, but the central love story between Jack and Rose was a fictional creation. As the final moments of the Titanic unfolded, a haunting sadness and an air of mystery enveloped the ill-fated ship. As the iceberg collided with the majestic vessel, a series of unfortunate events was set in motion, ultimately sealing the fate of all aboard. Amidst the chaos and despair, whispers of an unsettling presence began to circulate among the passengers. Some claimed to have seen a spectral figure wandering the decks, a ghostly apparition cloaked in darkness. It moved silently, observing the unfolding tragedy with hollow eyes that seemed to hold the weight of 1,000 sorrows. As the lifeboats were lowered into the icy water, the mysterious figure remained, lingering in the shadows. Its purpose, its connection to the ship, and the origin of its presence remained shrouded in uncertainty. Was it the restless spirit of a long-lost sailor, doomed to wander the vast expanse of the ocean for eternity? As the Titanic's bow rose higher into the air, and the cries of desperation echoed through the night, the enigmatic figure appeared to fade away, blending into the ethereal mist that engulfed the sinking vessel. Some believed it to be an omen, a forewarning of the tragedy that awaited those on board, while others dismissed it as a collective hallucination born out of fear and grief. As the ship broke apart and disappeared beneath the waves, the mystery of the phantom figure remained unresolved. Its presence became a haunting reminder of the countless lives lost, and a symbol of the unfathomable depths that the ocean holds, forever guarding its secrets. Over the years, tales of the spectral presence aboard the Titanic have persisted, becoming an integral part of the ship's legend. The mystery of the ghostly figure continues to captivate the imaginations of those who dare to explore the depths of the Titanic's tragic history, leaving them with a sense of sadness and an enduring curiosity about the unknown forces that may still linger beneath the sea. Titanic could be remade, but it would involve constructing an entirely new ship based on the original design. However, it's important to note that there are no plans or indications that such a remake is being pursued. The original RMS Titanic was a British passenger liner that famously sank in 1912 during its maiden voyage after colliding with an iceberg. It was a tragic event that resulted in the loss of numerous lives. Since then, the story of the Titanic has been immortalized through various books, documentaries, and the 1997 blockbuster film directed by James Cameron. While some ships have been built in recent years with a similar exterior design to the Titanic for various purposes, including tourism and entertainment, these replicas are not intended to serve as functioning replicas of the original ship. Given the historical significance and the tragic nature of the Titanic's sinking, any attempt to recreate the ship would likely face ethical and practical challenges. It is more likely that efforts will continue to focus on preserving and memorializing the original ship, rather than attempting to recreate it. However, there have been numerous interviews conducted with Titanic survivors over the years, and their accounts have provided valuable insights into the tragedy. Survivors have shared their experiences of the ship's sinking, the chaos and panic on board, the efforts to launch lifeboats, and the rescue by the RMS Carpathia. They have also described the loss of loved ones, the cold and harsh conditions in the lifeboats, and their eventual rescue. Each survivor's account may vary in terms of the specific details and emotions described. Many survivors experienced profound grief and survivor's guilt, as they grappled with the loss of family and friends who did not survive the disaster. Some survivors became advocates for maritime safety reforms, leading to improvements in safety regulations and practices.